Hello everybody, this is Greg29407 back with another episode of Tips and Tricks for City Skylines. Today we're going to talk about public transportation. Now, most of this game, of course, involves building roads, highways and freeways and 2-lane roads and 4-lane roads and one-way roads and all sorts of different kind of roads. But if you want to build your cities any bigger than about 15 to 20,000 people, you're going to need some public transportation. And there are a lot of different options in this game. Some of those options came with the original vanilla version of the game. Some came with later DLCs, but we'll go over each one very briefly and see what we have. The first one I want to talk about is kind of the most local of all is buses. Bus systems comes with the vanilla game. And as we can see here, I have in blue a typical bus line. So what you have to do is you have to lay down the bus depot, which I have right here. And then you can start doing whatever your bus lines are. In this case, I have the blue line that goes up here into the residential area. It comes around this way, over to the commercial area with some stops, back over to this residential area, back over here to my industrial area, and then loops around. And I have two lines here. One goes clockwise and one goes counterclockwise, so I already have enough buses. Buses have 30 people per bus, and you can set this up as many as you need. So as you can see, I have a bunch of different bus lines. Let me alphabetize them here. And so I've got a number of passengers. It shows number of passengers per line, number of vehicles. This lower valley one, I've got too many. I don't have enough passengers, so I can cut down the number of vehicles here. So you can kind of take care of that. And I have a bunch of different lines here. One thing you always want to make sure of is that all of your lines go to where you want them to. So let me show you this. This neighborhood way up here, I have this line that goes within this very large neighborhood. It's all residential. This whole thing is residential. And I got it in the European style. As you can see, I have two lines, one going clockwise, one going counterclockwise, and it just stays in the residential, which you generally don't want to do. Because any kind of public transportation, you want to connect people to other things. So residential to industrial and commercial. You want a good combination. In this case, I have two bus lines that are just residential, but my biggest station is right here because you come off here and you take this very convenient walkway and you have the tram lines and the subway lines right here. So either you're going to have your bus lines go to all sorts of different areas, or you can connect them to other forms of public transportation. This is my most successful line, in fact, because massive numbers of these people, then instead of getting in their cars and driving around, they'll take the bus all the way down to here, walk to the station they need, and they can get anywhere in the city that they want. So that's always going to be the key. You want your public transportation connecting to things where people need to go. So that's buses. Now, the next step I go to is trams, or streetcars. They call them trams in here. Trams came in the Snowfall DLC. It's probably the only good thing from Snowfall. I don't care for the snowy towns, but trams are really useful. Trams can fit 90 people per line, and they're in my purple. And what you do is you set up these different tram lines, and you have to set up a tram station. And then what happens is you need to have a line to get the trams from the tram station to your tram line. So I don't have any, as you can see, that I have a line here that goes around this way, loops around, and then back. But I don't have any lines here. The only reason why this is all tram and this is all tram is to get my trams from, where's it at? Where's it at? Oh, I lost it. Oh, it's right here. This is where my tram station is. And all the trams have to leave the station to get to the various tram lines. And for this one, I had to have them go all the way up here to get over there. But what you can do is you set up these tram lines, and since they hold more people, then what you do is you can carry a lot more people, and they go a farther distance. Because your bus lines are going to be very localized. Here's a bus line here that goes in this general area back and forth, pick up all the people in this area. The tram line is going to pick them up and then take them to different locations. Either this one, or they can go way over here. You don't want to go too far with it because, again, you're not going to, a person isn't going to get a tram and take, an hour and a half to get to work on a tram because they're riding on basically on streets. So it's a good intermediate distance type transportation. So if you need to go a fairly decent distance, not too far, like here's a tram line that goes around this circle right here, or this square right here. It just kind of goes around and around. And I have two lines, one that goes clockwise, one that goes counterclockwise. It picks up people from the bus line here, and it's close to the bus line here, and it's close to the subway here. So a good medium distance transportation is what that is. Next, we have our subway. And our subway is for large distances. That's for covering a wide range of space in your city. That's in the black tubes. And I have a subway system that goes in this big loop around here and covers up. This is the original big piece of my city. Subways can hold 180 people, and they go really fast, so they can cover a large amount of ground. That's one of my subway loops. My other subway loop is on this side of town. I have, again, a nice little loop that goes around here into my city. So this goes all residential, college, university, residential, and then downtown area. And then my final subway loop is this one that goes around here, all the way down here, all the way over here, all the way over. So it covers my entire city. It goes around my entire city. And it's close to this subway loop, so people can get on and off really close to those subway loops. It's close to this subway loop. You can ride this subway to get on this subway. It's close to my tram lines. It's close to my bus lines. So it's very seamless. Again, it holds 180 people, and it covers a lot of grounds, and they go really fast. So that's going to be your really big stuff. Subways are expensive, and they're not going to make a lot of sense if you have very small populations. Once you get a lot of people in your town, though, these are fantastic, and they drain the traffic really well. Next, we're going to cover our trains. Now, trains come in different situations. You can have passenger train and cargo train. And in my city, I mainly use it for cargo lines. This particular city had a line that went through here originally and goes off the map here. And I use that to expand. As I've talked about before, your cargo trains, you want to connect close to your industries. Any kind of industry that has a lot of either dirty industry, or in this case, my factories, or down here, I have it close to my forestry, and I have it close to my oil, and I have it close to my ore industries. So you always want cargo lines that way. For passenger trains, you can do a lot more. Trains can carry 240 people for passenger trains, so that's more than subways. And trains are also made for wide-ranging stuff. It's not for local stuff. So you can do it either connecting your city to other cities off the map, or you can do it within your maps. So in other words, what you can do, if you really want to do a lot of train stuff, this is what I've been toying with for doing it on a future city, is you have these different train stations, multi-platform end stations and train stations. So they're really huge. You put those on the street, and you have massive number of train lines. This has, I'm going to put this down here just a second. So I just put that down here. Look at all these train lines that are coming off of here. So what you could do in this case is you could have something like this in the major part of your city. But what you may want to do is in the center of your city, you may want to have something like that put right in the middle of your town, like a lot of big cities do. And then you can have some of the train lines can go off the city for tourism and people from other cities coming in. You can have a line that connects to this neighborhood over here. You can have a line that connects to these neighborhoods over here. Another line connects to these neighborhoods over here. So you could really use trains to get people from one area of the town to the other, not using subways, but with trains. And it's more of an old school type thing. I usually use the subways, but trains are very viable for passengers as well, and you can fit more people on them. So that's really nice. Next, we have shipping. And shipping, we have a lot of different options. We have cruise ships. What you can do is you can just lay out a cruise ship dock, and it connects to your oceans, so they can go for tourism. And What you can also do is cargo ships. And I don't have a cargo ship here, but I do have where I'm building some cargo ships, a shipyard to create things. But I don't have, and they need to be connected to your oceans as well. This particular map doesn't have a connection to oceans, so I don't have any of that. But the other thing is you can have ferries. And ferries are really good for these cities where you can transport people. That comes with, ferries come with mass transit DLC. So for instance, what I could have done is I could have put a ferry stop right here, or right in here, and then I could have another ferry stop down here. And what would happen is people would come to that area, and then they would take the ferry rather than take the roads. It's good for tourism. I've done that in one of my other cities, taking people from the airport to the tourist area. But I have found that you need to build your city, more facing water. Like in this case, I have my city kind of facing inward, away from the water. So it's a little bit tougher. If you have a lot of roads facing the water, it seems to work better for ferries. It's kind of a nice, attractive look. It's not that efficient. I think trams and buses and subways are more efficient, but they're a nice little addition to your city if you want to have it. If you have a lot of water stuff, then that makes it a lot of sense. Planes, airports, very important. We have several different types. This particular airport is the basic that comes with the game. This is just the regular airport, and it can transport 200 people in. And it comes from other places outside the city. It brings in all your tourists. And there's also an international airport that comes with the After Dark DLC, which is bigger than this. It has like 2 runways, and it gets more people in. And it also boosts up your ability to bring in tourism and leisure and things like that. Then there's also the cargo airport, which came with the Industries DLC. So what you would do is you would put that near like your oil industry or probably your factories and things. And that way is another way of getting all of your industrial goods out of your city. You can take it on trucks on the highways. They can go on the cargo trains or on your cargo airport. So it's another way of getting people in and out. Next is monorails. Monorails came with the mass transit DLC, and they can hold the same as subways, 180 people. I don't use those very often. I have used those in the city before. They are efficient. They are kind of the alternate to subways. You can also be used as alternate to trams somewhat, but you want a bigger loop because monorails aren't very efficient for small or medium-sized areas. Bigger for bigger areas. The problem I have with monorails is they're above the road, and it's a little harder to see the traffic on your highways. So you may, when I've laid mine down, it's like, oh my goodness, I see a big traffic jam. I didn't notice that before because the rails were kind of in the way. A little bit harder to place. Generally want to lay it out in advance so you know what you're going to do. If you want to use monorails, you want to know in advance so you know where to put everything, and the monorail stations are generally right up here. But you can do a lot of things with them. It's a little pricier and a little harder to fit into the city after it's been set up. Next, we have cable cars, and cable cars are pretty cool. Cable cars are usually going to be used when you have a steep hill or crossing a river. So, for instance, if I wanted to have a line going from down here up to here, I could have like a little station for a cable car, and it'd go up the hill up to this way, and it would bring people back and forth. They don't hold a lot of people. I think it's like a bus, like 30 people. And I have used those in tourism areas before. I created like a temporary like little ski resort, even though I didn't have snow on it. It was like during the summer, and it transported people up there. And you can have, they also good for crossing the river. If we want to cross over here, not just using the roads or anything, we could actually have a cable car going across. It's nice. It's again not the most efficient system, but it's good for making your city look a little more interesting and cool, and tourism. Tourists love it. So put it anywhere where there are hills or rivers, and the tourists will take it. I did have on one of my maps, I connected a bunch of hilltops by cable car, and went in a big loop, and nobody rode it because there's no reason to ride it except for the fact that you could ride it. And I rode it a couple of times, just did the follow and rode it. It was kind of neat, but no one ever rode that thing because it didn't go anywhere. So Next, we have taxis. And taxis came with the After Dark DLC. And taxis are kind of, well, they're not really useful. What you would do is you would put them down like at the airport. You have a taxi stand here, and people come to the airport and go to the taxi, and then you can connect them to tourist areas and things like that. I used to, in the downtown part of my cities, like up here, I used to have like a taxi over here and a taxi stand over here, and you get some people taking them, little taxi stops where they can drop people off. It did a little something, not a whole lot. It's a little bit. And then finally, we have the Blimps. And Blimps came with the Mass Transit DLC. And Blimps are really cool looking because, you know, they take off and they travel a distance and then drop people off. They hold about, not a lot of people. I think it's 35 people, so slightly more than a bus. And it goes from one area to the next. You can go a farther distance, I guess, because they're a blimp, but they're kind of slow because there's a blimp. And it's slower than just taking a bus or a tram. And the other problem is residents and tourists love the blimp. So you'll have a big traffic. You have people trying to get to the blimp. If you have a blimp station right there, all these people will be racing to get over here, and there'll be a huge line, but they can only hold 35 people per blimp. So you have a massive backup of people waiting to take this blimp to over here, which is kind of weird. They're kind of cool looking though, and I'm thinking about doing like an Art Deco futuristic city where we have there's some Steam Workshop. You can get some Art Deco kind of futuristic buildings. I was thinking about using all monorail and blimp because those are kind of like the wave of the future from the back in the 1930s. It'd be kind of neat to have a city that's all like that. It wouldn't be very efficient, but it'd be kind of neat looking. But anyway, so those are blimps. In my cities, I generally will use buses for short drops, trams for medium, and then subways for large. I will occasionally do a passenger train as well. I think I may do an industrial city where I'll have mainly trains getting into the city and then to the outer suburbs and small towns outside, just because I think it'd be kind of cool and kind of different. But you can mix and match however you want. I am also want to do a lot of ferries and try and get ferries really working really well. So those are your different options, and those are the different DLCs you can get. If you can just get the vanilla game and then the mass transit, you're going to get the majority of the things you really want to use. Trams, which I love, came from Snowfall for some random weird reason. That's the only reason to have Snowfall, I think. But yeah, After Dark will give you a few, and then Mass Transit will get you the majority of these. So that's public transportation. They're all great in certain ways for different things. None of these things I would say, oh, never use that. That's ridiculous. They're all great for their own uses. So mix and match them. Try and see what you like. Some people love the monorails. They hate the subways. Some people are like me. They like this the other way around. It doesn't really matter. Just enjoy it. But those are your different options, and give them a try. So until next time, this is Greg 29407 saying sayonara, and we will see you next time.